Hey guys, I'm Aussie, and today I just wanted to make a quick video about 5 things that I think Formula 1 Manager needs to add to the game, whether it be a sort of a patch in for this one or to add into the next one. I just think they have to be there. So let's start with the first one. So the first thing, there's got to be driver academies. There is just no way around it. Now this is my Haas series where I'm trying to win the championship using only American drivers. So once K-Mag's contract is up, he will be leaving us. But there just needs to be a driver academy so I could get the young American drivers into my academy and improve them that way. Obviously, it's not a thing. You can have one reserve driver, but there just needs to be driver academies. And, you know, I mean, to start with, obviously, Red Bull would have sucked up most of the good ones. But, you know, you can't just have endless, because it obviously costs a lot of money to have drivers in a development program in a driver academy. So, you know, you could have it like half. I don't know what it costs actually, but, you know, $1 million to have a year to have an F3 driver, you know, 2, 3, I don't know what it is, $2.5 million to have an F2 driver. I'm sure actual numbers could be ascertained from people who know. And yeah, you support that driver. You renew their academy scholarship every year, and at some point you either promote them to your Formula 1 team, reserve or race seat, or you let them go, in which case they're free to go elsewhere. So I just think that would be just such a nice touch to, and it's so integral to real life Formula 1 that or drivers development to get to Formula 1, I should say. To be honest, I don't know why it isn't in the game already. Now, the second thing, and this would be something that is so easy just to patch in, I'm sure, but driver nationalities. You get the regen or the new gen drivers, which are excellent. Absolutely love that. But they don't have a nationality. Now, obviously, from my point of view in this series, using only American drivers, it makes it difficult if the drivers don't have a nationality. But even just generally speaking, you know, I'm Australian. I would love to, if I had just generally speaking, if there's a young Australian that comes up, I'd love to know that they're a young Australian and hire them. And I think anybody would feel the same way. If you're British or Spanish or French or Brazilian, you're going to want to, you know, you just naturally want to see someone that's from where you're from do well. And it's just such an obvious thing again, and I'm sure you could just patch it in. It would, I'm not a computer programmer, but there's surely no reason why you can't. They're made up people anyway. Just stick a made up nationality on there. You know, you can have it, you know, percentage wise, you know, which countries get the drivers. You know, there's usually more British drivers than there are any other nationality. You could have that, say, you know, 40% of the new drivers are British, or yeah, whatever it is, and just have like a random one. You get like, you know, Yuri Vips being Estonian. Doesn't happen that often. I don't remember another Estonian in sort of the road to Formula 1. So just have a random country here and there. You know, it'd be great if there's a randomly I don't know, a Sri Lankan driver, and you know, you could you know, I'd be interested just because you don't see it. So, you know, I just think it would be really, really good. Or you could have a young African driver coming up that you could look to promote, you know, the first African world champion. So I just think driver nationalities, it's such a no-brainer, but the new gen drivers, they don't have them. Okay, the next one, it's just pit stops, pits in general, I just think need a little bit of an overhaul. The most frustrating thing for me is not necessarily the pit crew, but the pit stops, because year on year, you don't change your, you know, they don't reassign the pit lanes slots depending on where you finish in the championship. So as Haas, we are stuck down the end. Now, we don't have good pit stops anyway, as you can see here. So we'll come in front of a car, we have a slower stop, but then we've got to wait for them to go past because we're going to be stuck at the far in the pit lane forevermore. It just would make more sense just to reassign it like they do in real life, so that, you know, we could come in front of a car, we would stop, we would be coming down the pit lane, they would have to wait for us. You know, if they get out in front of us, fair enough, but if they can't get out without an unsafe release, then it just would be a lot better, I think, if the pit slots just moved according to where you finished. And I do feel a little bit like the pit crew ratings it just needs to be a little bit more obvious, maybe that's the word, of how you improve things. I know that there's training, and obviously we're working on that. And I know that the driver engineer, the race engineer, can affect the pit times, but you know, maybe you can invest, you know, more money into more training. You can have training facilities at the factory. I just feel like there needs to be a way to be able to invest in pit stops to make sure that they're getting done a little bit quicker. It just feels a little bit like, oh, this is your pit crew. There you go. Have fun. So this is a really good example of what I mean. Gasly is technically a lap in front of us, and we can't physically go past. It's like there's a magnet that's stopping us when we try to get past, that we just drop back. Now he's on a used hardware, on a soft. We were racing him at the start of the race, so we know that we're as quick. And even with the DRS, which Magnussen has now, the game won't physically let us go past him. And it's just... It's a big bug. It's a big bug in the game. You can see there, Sargent will try and go past and he just stops. The game won't physically let him unlap himself. And the final thing that I feel like the game just needs is setup compromises. Now you can see here in the Haas series, we're just about to qualify for the Japanese Grand Prix. Both cars have a fairly good setup, but there's no way for me to know. So say I wanted to have a low downforce setup so we're either it's more difficult to overtake, or we're easier to overtake cars down the straights. There's no way for me to do that without it affecting the driver confidence in the setup. So I just feel like if there was a way that you could have a low downforce, high downforce, or just neutrals in the middle sort of setup, and the driver was aware of what the car was doing, so that they felt confident in the car doing that kind of thing, if you know what I mean. As it is right now, if I wanted to do a lower downforce, it's gonna basically make him go slower. Even if, I mean, Japan's maybe not a good example of track, but say like Spa, for example, you see it all the time. You fast in the first or last sectors, or fast in the middle sector. To be a similar sort of thing, Saudi Arabia, Miami's probably another one. I just wish there was a way to talk to the driver about what you want to achieve through the race, what sort of car you're wanting to have, and so if you have a car that is slower in a straight line, you need to have a lower downforce just to be able to keep up, sort of Red Bull back in the day kind of thing. Or do you want to be able to exploit the fact that your car is fast in the straight line even more so, kind of like Williams modern day. So yeah, I just feel like if you could do that, it would really add something. I think a bit more strategy in terms of setup. So there we go. Those are my ideas of how the game could be improved. Let me know yours in the comments, of course. I'd be very interested to hear what other people have to say and think could be added. And if you want to see a little bit more of the game with me playing it, then come and join me as we're kicking Haas, American only. It's America's team. Let's see if we can win the World Championship as such. Take care.